Today we're going to be taking a look at some of the basics of linear perspective and using some of the ideas that were explored in the Khan Academy video that you had watched previously. For this particular activity, you're going to need a pencil. If you've got a drawing pencil set, that would be super. We're going to need a ruler, and an eraser, as well as a template sheet or a blank sheet of paper. This can be found on Google Classroom as well in order to help you out with kind of getting things figured out. So to start with, if you have a pencil set, we're going to be using a fairly hard pencil, so an 2H or a fine pencil such as this, and we're going to grab our ruler. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to establish the horizon line. I'm going to use my ruler and I'm going to take this and try and make sure that it is as parallel to the bottom line of this square as possible. And I'm actually going to extend this line beyond the width of the picture frame, right, which is indicated by this square here. So if you're starting with a blank sheet of paper, you want to make sure that you are indicating what area the actual image is going to be occupying. Once this is done, I'm going to put in a mark on the horizon line. Now let's label this horizon line. And we're also going to label the vanishing point, here and here. So from this point, what we might want to do here is actually just kind of extend this bottom line ever so slightly. And we're going to create some increments along this line. And for our purposes here, let's use like every 2 centimeters. And I'm actually going to start this outside of the picture space. So I'm going to start at 0. And carefully mark 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 is right on the corner, 16 and 18. I'm not too sure whether we're going to use all of these particular marks. Our next step is to connect these markings to our vanishing point. And these are called our orthogonals. So we're going to join these up here. And typically when we're doing this type of work, we want to be using a harder pencil and pressing fairly light. I'm pressing a little bit harder in order to make sure that the lines are going to be visible on the video. Okay, so we come all the way across. There we go. So what we've essentially created now is the receding lines for the floor tiles in our drawing. The next step is we need to make sure that the spacing of the tiles is getting looks as though it's getting smaller as it recedes into the distance in order to align with our understanding of optics. So over on the other side, okay, I'm going to create a vanishing point too. And now what we need to do is make sure that we are connecting, again, all of these spacing marks across the bottom to vanishing point 2. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to join them across. And again, at home, you should be drawing fairly lightly in order to create these lines. Again, I'm going to press a little bit harder in order to make sure that the lines are showing up and visible on the camera. Okay, all right, we're not going to actually need these ones that are out on this side. So the next step for us is to create the tiles. So where these lines, these orthogonal lines intersect, for example, here, 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 I'm going to just put dots all the way across. That creates the first horizontal line for our tiles. And then I'm going to move up and I'm going to find where those lines intersect once again. Right? And I don't need to be putting those little dots in. I'm just going to line the ruler up and draw that line all the way across, making sure that I go from one edge of the picture frame to the other. And again, I'm going to move this up and line those up. And as you go, you can notice that it's getting a little bit trickier because there are not as many points for us to be lining up. So if I wanted to be even more accurate, I could extend the lines that are coming out on this side of the page and create more, which would give me more intersecting lines to more firmly establish the proper depth. I'm going to do just a couple more here. Let's see. Let's do the last one. Okay. So there's a lot of lines happening, and at this point we need to start thinking about what lines are needed and which lines can we start removing. So I do know, right, that anything above this line is actually going to become a wall. So I'm going to start to erase these lines in here. Right, and as you can see on this particular piece of paper, right, I'm just using some photocopy paper and a fairly hard pencil, which means that the lines are going to be more difficult to erase. All right, so I'm going to bring these all the way across. Right, and I'm not going to need any of these lines over here anymore as well, so I would probably be getting rid of this as well. Okay, and same thing out here. I'm just going to sort of erase around the edges. So we want to make sure that we're establishing where the wall is. Right, so at this point, I'm going to say that I want the wall to start at this point and come all the way over to here. So I'm going to line my ruler up with the vertical side of the paper, drag this across, and I'm going to draw up, right? Trying to make sure that my lines are parallel. And same thing, going to line the ruler up, drag it across to line up with the point, and bring that down as well. So that creates the two side walls. And I'm able to erase. I erased the wrong line here. Let's draw this back in. Okay. And I'm also going to put in a little bit of a roof. I'm just going to use the corners of the page here as my kind of guide and join these ones up. Okay, so now it's time to, again, continue to erase the unnecessary lines to make sure that it's easy to understand what's going on. At this point, I don't need the vanishing point anymore. Okay, and it's still ghosted there, so if I do decide I need it, I can add it in. Okay, and this is the line here that meets the wall to the floor, so I'm going to, again, erase some of these lines, and I'm going to start adding in some shading. So if you have some drawing pencils, you might want to grab something that's a little bit softer, such as a 2B, for example, or a 3B. It just makes it a little bit easier. And what we're going to do now is just create an alternating pattern of light and dark. So starting in the corner, all right, I'm just going to start to carefully fill these in. Like so. Right, again, what I'm going to be looking for here in the application of your basic technique is that the spacing of the tiles is fairly precise, and that you have an alternating pattern of light and dark, or white and black squares that you can just create with a pencil. If you want to do something a little bit more elaborate with pencil crayon, feel free, that you're more than welcome to do so. Right? And most importantly, as the tiles recede, you notice that they look as though they're getting a little bit shorter. Right, so I'm going to finish just filling these in so you can get an idea of what that's going to look like in the end. And then while I'm doing that, this is going to just go in speed up motion so that you're not having to sit and just watch me fill these in. All right, so I'll be back in just probably a couple minutes here. All right, so now that I have them basically roughed in, what I'm gonna actually end up doing now is reinforcing some of my other important lines, right? And that would include where the floor meets the wall. I'm gonna just bring these up here. All right, and just making sure that they're a little bit stronger so that they're easier to see. Bring this line across. Bring this one up. Right, so I'm just reinforcing those lines, making them a little bit bolder now that I know that exactly where I want them to be. And there we have it. So this is sort of the basics of what it is that we're taking a look for. I'm gonna add a second video just so that we can start to take a look at how we might start adding other details into this space in order to be able to create doors or windows, etc. All right, so if you're finding this pretty easy, challenge yourself and you can follow along with the next video that's going to get posted into our Google Classroom as well. All right, good luck, and hopefully if you were following along as I was doing this, you were successful. And if you have any questions, please make sure that you're letting me know. You can reach out to me in order to ask questions and get feedback, of course. All right, have a great day. Bye, guys.